Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the session on renewable energy in the transport sectors. So we have 1.5 hours to go for lunchtime, so we try to keep it on schedule. I believe you all look forward to having lunch. And we have 4 speakers in the panel. We have 6 people sitting in this table, but we will be 4 topics to be discussed with us today. And I would start from bigger pictures of transport and renewable energy, and then we'll go to how it applied to cities. We have one in Nepal, we have one in the Philippines, and then finally, in the last speaker will speak about battery technology. So each of you will have about 10 to 15 minutes. So we can keep that schedule on time, then we will still have about 30 minutes for discussions. All right, so without further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Nicholas Wagner. I hope I spell it right. So, Mr. Wagner is an Associate Program Officer at the International Renewable Energy Agency, located in Germany. So he's working on renewable energy roadmap. Please, floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you to ADB for inviting us to present today. I will be giving an overview of where we stand today with regard to renewable energy in the transport sector, provide a perspective to the year 2030 based on our roadmap for renewable energy future. This is a wide-ranging analysis that we've done with 40 countries to develop a picture of where we could head in terms of higher uptake of renewable energy by 2030. We look at all sectors. I'll first mention briefly I work for the International Renewable Energy Agency. We are a young agency. We just celebrated our 5th year in existence. Despite that, we have had incredible growth. We have 176 member countries or states in session. And we have a headquarters in Abu Dhabi. We have a technology and innovation office in Bonn, Germany. This is where I am located. We also have an office in New York City. So what I'll be presenting today is based on our REMAP program. This is our Renewable Energy Roadmap, and it's an analysis methodology that we've developed to assess the potential of renewable energy in the entire energy system. So we look at not just the power sector or the supply side sector, district heat, we also look at the end-use sectors of industry, transport, and buildings. So what I'll be doing today is presenting some of those key findings from the transport work that we've done. And it is unique in that it is not a sort of a black box modeling exercise. It's something we've actually done with and in collaboration with 40 countries around the world, representing 80% of global energy demand. The countries are highlighted in green and light green. And so this gives us an ability to work with those experts in those countries to assess their energy system developments to 2030, both in terms of what they expect in their business as usual and what we would classify as an accelerated renewables scenario. Can you go back? Is there anything else that pops up? Yeah. And as part of the REMAP program, we've also developed a transport action team. And the reason why we did this is we see in our analysis, and I think most people are aware, that the transport sector as a sector in and of itself consumes 1/3 of global energy. It also has the lowest share of renewables. It's the most reliant on fossil fuels. Just 3% of the sector, more or less, is supplied through non-fossil fuels. So the REMAP analysis shows that the uptake potential is very significant. However, it's not recognized by most governments. It's not recognized particularly in the marketplace. So we need to develop an action team that can sort of mobilize and drive action on a country level. And this action team has around 200 participants from industry, government, academia, research, NGOs. So some of this that I'll be presenting to you is also based on consultation with them. And if we look in 2030, the makeup of renewable energy supply, which will constitute roughly a third of total final energy, looks like this. And you can see that the end-use sectors, so the sectors that are responsible for heat and cooling and transport, make up roughly 55 to 60% of renewable energy use. The remainder is the power sector. And of that, the transport sector is about 10%. However, the transport sector share, so the relative importance of the transport sector will increase from 4%, so making it 4% of renewable energy use, to 10%. But because we also see significant growth in the sector, this constitutes growth of 400% in physical terms. So it's really a tremendous growth. This is if you were able to develop all the renewable energy technology options that we've identified. So a high renewables scenario. And on a country level, it can look quite different. Some countries start with very low shares. Some countries have higher shares. All countries can see significant growth and uptake. And this graph might be a bit hard for you to see, but the blue portion of the figure is where we stand today. The yellow is what is expected to occur according to a business as usual case, so what the governments believe will happen in their countries. The green is the additional potential that we've identified with those governments. And then the hatched areas are actually a further analysis that we did that looked at even further electrification and shifts, modal shifts within the sector to drive that share forward, to move more of that demand into the power sector, more of that demand into the power sector where renewable electricity is more prevalent. And of course, if you look at the share on a subsector level based on transport mode, it is much different. Of course, the transport sector is a diverse one that has diverse fuel needs and requirements. Yeah. And you can see that, for instance, aviation and shipping still has a very low share. This, of course, is because of some of the needs of the types of fuels. Same thing with railways and roads, which is much more heavy fuel dependent, but the passenger road segment sees quite an increase in share. And if you look at the costs associated with this, so this is the incremental cost between where we expect in business as usual and where we could be in an accelerated renewables case. You see that there is an incremental cost shown here in 2030 of around $63 billion US. So this is energy service cost. However, if you quantify costs with associated benefits, which one should always do, which typically is not done in marketplaces, then you see that there's actually significant savings, much higher than the costs associated with that energy service need. And those can be upwards of, let's say, 190 billion US dollars net savings. And if we look at deployment potential, we really grouped our focus into three areas. So one is electric mobility, and we've actually linked in to this electric mobility topic the importance of systems thinking and sector coupling. So electric mobility is more than just a focus on electric vehicles. It's also thinking about related charging infrastructure, about marketplace, about a means to sort of harness the variable nature of renewables to enable storage. And so we have that as one section. We, of course, still believe that advanced biofuels play a very important role, particularly in modes that need higher energy density. And then there are emerging sectors and technologies that need more R&D and understanding. That's the aviation and shipping and military applications. And here there's potential. If you look at numbers, we see significant growth between the reference case and REMAP. We're doubling from roughly about 1 million electric vehicles on the road today. I think it's 1.25 is the latest number as of last year, to 60 million in the reference case, or 160 million four-wheel passenger vehicles by 2030. This constitutes 10% of the vehicle fleet. Doesn't sound like a lot, it is, but it's 10%, and it would entail uptake of about 10 million vehicles per year, so much higher than we are currently. Advanced biofuels, we need to see significant growth if we want to really take away some of the share of petroleum products. And these will be largely used in modes that have a higher energy density need, such as freight, for instance, or aviation shipping. I want to point out, because it's relevant for the other speakers here, we also think there's tremendous potential in electric 2- and 3-wheelers, and I think it's a bit hard to ascertain the exact number today. We have it at 200 million, which would include e-bikes, and of course it's very prevalent in China. And we see that number increasing significantly to perhaps a little under 1 billion by 2030. So we think that there's a tremendous market potential for electric 2- and 3-wheelers. And I'm going to go through very briefly into these 3 areas and mention a few things. Electric vehicles. Electric vehicles, we all know, are growing. Maybe not what everybody a few years ago had thought they would be, but they're nonetheless growing. I think there's a lot of attention rightfully paid to their potential, mainly in city and urban environments. And there's 2 main issues that currently stand before more widespread adoption. One is the price of battery packs. We see those coming down. I think the lowest price in the market today is around $250 per kilowatt hour, and this will continue, depending on who you talk to, could be slightly above 100 by early 2020, so maybe 2022 or so, in which case around that, many people think that you'd have price parity for the vehicle as a whole with traditional internal combustion engines. And it's important to look at electric vehicles not as just automobiles, but also as part of a system, because they are going to be interlinked with the power system. In almost all cases, power systems are increasingly becoming renewable, and they're drawing mainly on the developments in wind and solar power, and these 2 are variable. So there needs to be mechanisms that enable higher shares of wind and solar PV into the grid, and one is most certainly electric vehicles amongst many others. So this sort of systems-related thinking is really crucial, as is the need for complementary infrastructure. So of course, charging stations at home and point of work. If we talk about electric vehicles also in the public space, you need to develop charging stations, for instance, for fleet vehicles or for buses, bus stations. Next slide. And advanced biofuels are crucial in some transport modes, and there's potential with advanced biofuels to not only save significant CO2, but also utilize non-food related feedstocks. And of course, what is necessary for this to happen is you need increases in really production. And we've seen, because of the oil price in recent years, that investments in liquid biofuel technology and production has really declined significantly. You can see to just a few $billion last year. So if we're going to realize sort of this advanced biofuel shift, which many people are hoping for, then we are going to need to significantly accelerate investment in the technologies. And why would we do that? Because there's actually strong literature and evidence that if you choose the right feedstock and production method, you have significant greenhouse gas emission savings of between 60 and 90% based on fuel, including when the left shows you sort of the well-to-wheel related CO2, the right shows you related land use change related to various feedstocks. So you see, depending on the technology, whether it's biogasolines, bioethanol, or FAIN, biodiesel, for instance, you see that you can have significant savings. What we also have up here, of course, is biogas, which I will touch on in a second. Next slide. And there are some emerging technologies that are often not even really part of the discussion. One is biogas. It is niche at the moment. It makes up a very small share of transportation energy demand. It's predominantly utilized in the EU and Germany and Sweden and a few other countries. It has tremendous potential, and we show that the biogas supply potential for transport could be 3 to 6 exajoules and supply 2 to 5% of global transport sector energy demand. And of course, this would be upgraded biogas, so it would be biomethane, compressed, and then it would probably have applications that are associated with fleet vehicles or public vehicles next. And there are other sectors that need to also address this issue. Of course, aviation and shipping are two of them. They're the two fastest growing modes within the transport sector, with on average 3% per year growth expected, so they make up 20% of the transport sector energy demand. However, they do have unique barriers. In the case of shipping, it's really the very low cost of bunker fuel. In the case, it's sort of the opposite. With aviation, it's the high spec requirements for drop-in biofuels for aviation. But biojet is a reality. It's currently being used in very limited quantities, but a lot of airlines are very keen on pursuing the technology pathway, and they need to really reduce costs. Costs are estimated to be 2 to 4 times that of traditional kerosene. Shipping could also use biofuels. It's really not discussed that frequently. They also have a lot of other novel forms of propulsion. They can use electrification, wind engine, kite systems, modern sails, green hydrogen. There's a bunch of different emerging technologies. We produced a technology brief that looked at this. It's a very interesting read. And one of the reasons why we should probably talk a bit more about shipping is not just because global trade is exploding and ships are combusting very dirty fuels, but also because the shipping industry has recognized this, and there's lots of initiatives and efforts underway amongst shipping lines and organizations that are trying to address this issue, and that generally governments are lagging behind in supporting this. You could also say that's similar to the aviation industry, where you have actually industry pushed to come up with uniform standards and actions, and governments really aren't reacting to that very quickly. Next slide. Oh, that's it. If you have any more questions about REMAP, you're welcome to email me. If you'd like to be part of the REMAP Transport Action Team, which is this network of 200 individuals that I mentioned, please also let me know. I'm happy to include you into the team. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nicholas. The second topic we're going to discuss is how this renewable energy introduced in transport sector in Nepal. For that, I would like to invite Mr. Saroj Bhattarai. He's a senior engineer working in Lumbini Development Trust since for the past 3 years. I think Lumbini is the World Heritage Sites, and the engineering works play a vital role with the preservation of artifacts. And next, later after Mr. Bhattarai, I would like also to invite Mr. Keiichi Tamaki. He is Senior Urban Development Specialist with the Asian Development Bank. So, please, Mr.
Thank you. My name is Saroj Bhattarai, and I'm working in Lumbini Development Trust, Lumbini. And our topic of the project is Lumbini Clean Public Transport Project. And me with Mr. Tamaki will be presenting this presentation. I will be highlighting upon the importance of site and condition of site. And Mr. Tamaki will be deliberating upon the quality of electrical vehicle and solar power supply system of our project. Lumbini is in southwestern part of Nepal, very near to Indian border, and this is the birthplace of Lord Buddha. In 623 before Christ, Buddha was born here, and the site is very much compared with Mecca or Vatican City. And this is listed in World Heritage Site. Very close to Lumbini, there are other archaeological important sites in Kapilvastu or Navalprasi districts in radius of 40 kilometers. With the financial support from ADB, Nepal government, we are constructing second international airport in Bhairava, very close to Lumbini, and we are expected this airport will be completed in 3 years. And the main objective of our project is to carry passenger, pilgrims, tourists, monks and nuns from airport to archaeological and historically important sites, especially to Lumbini and other places. Talking more about Lumbini, We have a very beautiful master plan. It was prepared with the initiation of United Nations, and it was completed. The plan was finalized in 1977, covering the area of 777 hectares. The master plan is further divided into three parts. The southern part is the birthplace of Lord Buddha, where we can see archaeological remains dating 200 years back. And the middle part is the international monastic zone, creating the mini Buddhist world. We can see the monasteries of China, Singapore, Malaysia, India, Japan, Korea, etc. And the upper part, that northern part, we have a facility of a new Lumbini village and culture center, where we should have an office, banks, and service center. Very fast, we can see some photographs of Lumbini. This is the sacred garden, birthplace of Buddha. And these are the photos of international monastic zone. And these are the photos of New Lumbini village. Apart from Kenja Tange master plan, Nepal government has just, Nepal government has just approved the one plan designed by Korean architect Professor Kwak, which covers 8 by 8 kilometers, and we are thinking to implement this plan very soon. Talking about our project, the total budget of our project is $3 million US. It is grant from Asian Development Bank, where the installation of solar power is 1.1 million, procurement of EV is 1.5 million, and procurement of electrical power rickshaw is 120,000 US. And there are some miscellaneous costs, altogether 3 million. So now I want to continue the presentation to Mr. Tabake, who will be talking about electrical vehicle.
Okay, can you go back? This finance part, 3 million from Asia Development Bank, but that's more precisely from government of Japan through ADB. So that's Asia Clean Energy Fund, 3 million. And next, please. And then I will talk about the rough, idea of the scheme and also business opportunities. And it is back. It is basically electric vehicle-based clean public transport plus decentralized renewable power generation, that's solar power plant, and vehicle-to-home power supply, because EV can EV can supply power to house or facilities. That's also possible. That's a two-way inverter system. And tourism promotion, as Mr. Batarai said, Nepal will have a second international airport. That's this one, called Bailawa or Gautam Buddha Airport. So it's a combination of these four. And next, please. And can you press the start button? Right, you have to move the cursor down. Yes. Well, I show you this because we want you to understand that for people living in Kathmandu, EV is nothing new. But this is an EV running in Kathmandu, providing public transport service as a mini bus for the last 15 years. And it is good because this service survived for that long, presumably without any government subsidy. But it's not good because this small minibus was not upgraded or improved at all for the last 15 years. So we are hoping to bring this EV-based public transport service to the next level by showing off improved service in Lumbini. Next, please. Okay, so that's called Safa Temple. I think in Nepal it has a clean bus or something. And we are going to procure new vehicle, electric vehicle. And in order to supply power, we are going to put the solar power plant because the grid supply in Nepal is very unreliable. Next, please. Okay, so business opportunity. We will have basically three business opportunities coming up. The first one is EV procurement, and the second one is EV leasing after the purchase is completed. And then last one is the solar power plant procurement, and we are thinking about the design, build, operate arrangement. Next, please. So the first one, EV procurement, we are not going to develop anything new. We are intending to buy EVs already available in the market, and that affordable lithium-ion battery powered EV, and that because at the moment there are not very many types of EVs. Unlike gasoline, diesel powered vehicles, you cannot specify 10-seater or 5-seater because as soon as you said that, you are basically favoring a particular company or companies. So we are going to procure EVs as a fleet. So at the moment, we have in mind roughly 200 seats, but bidder can propose any combination of vehicles. It can be 10, 20 seaters or 40 5-seaters. It can be any type, and it can be combination of different types of EV. And we are requiring universal access for a few seats. In this case, we have in mind like 10. And we will ask for CHAdeMO rapid charger compatible spec. And we will use a two-stage bidding procedure, meaning initial first stage, we don't require price. We just do technical evaluation, and then second stage price comes. And also we are requiring warranty, probably 3 years or 100,000 kilometers, whichever comes first. Next, please. And then after this EV is procured, we are going to lease out those EVs to willing public transport service operator. And we prefer to have a single party, not giving one by one. And we intend to do it through transparent, competitive auction. And as you must know already, O&M cost, running cost of EV is extremely cheap. I think at the moment 5-to-1 ratio, gasoline, diesel 5, and EV 1. And as I already mentioned, we intend to use vehicle-to-home power supply, which basically help the operator to make money even when the EV is not running to provide public transport service, like during the evening or during the tourism off-peak season. You can bring the EV to supply power to nearby hotels. There are many which are suffering from load shedding, blackout, brownout. So that's a supplemental source of revenue. And next, please. And solar power plant, that's the third piece. And as I said, we intend to use design, build, operate contract but it's going to be rather simple because once properly specified equipment is installed, the rest is like a petrol station operation. But we require at least 5 years running operation of the facility on behalf of the client. That's Lumbini Development Trust. And perhaps what we are going to do is we have to decide the amount, but charge for, let's say, 20 cents per kilowatt hour, and there will be some profit margin for the contractor, or let's say 4 cents per kilowatt hour. So 4 will go to the contractor, 16 will be given to the client. And what's tricky about this scheme is how we can balance out generation capacity from solar panel, PV, and storage capacity of EV battery, and stationary battery capacity. So we have to balance out the 3 elements to arrive at the most optimal mix. And well, in this regard, we are lucky to be able to engage DENSO, actually one representative here, because DENSO is already pilot testing very similar scheme in Japan. So it is basically scaling up DENSO's what's called pico-grid system to a larger scheme, and with a larger vehicle, regular size vehicle. And we also we are also lucky to have support from the University of Tokyo, which has been engaged in this Lumbini project for a long time. So from 2 very competent advisory consultants, we are hoping this will move smoothly in the coming months. Is this last? Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Saroj and Keiichi. Let us now move to another application of the electric vehicle, but this time in Boracay. It's a beautiful place in the Philippines, I guess, and I would like to invite Mr. Eliseo Kasitsin. He's a former chairman of the Boracay Land Transport Multipurpose Cooperative. Let us learn how he introduced this and run and operate. Please, Mr. Kasitsin.
Thank you very much, sir. Good afternoon. I stand before you today to talk about Boracay Solar Charging Station for electric vehicles and scaling similar projects in ecotourism sites in small island economies. All of you must have heard about the world famous Boracay Island with its pristine white powdery sands and romantic sunsets. Boracay receives and transports over 1.5 million tourists every year, with a road network of only 18 kilometers to move them around the island. The Boracay Land Transport Multipurpose Cooperative, or BLTMPC, provide the main means of transportation in the island, managing 507 tricycles. Every day, its tricycles consume around 6 liters of fuel. The use of electric tricycle, clean and quiet, is an emerging trend in replacing gasoline-run vehicles. Electric vehicles are well suited for an eco-tourism site, such as Boracay, as noise and air pollutions are eliminated. In 2013, the United States Agency for International Development, or USAID, through its Climate Change and Clean Energy Project, donated to the Boracay Land Transport Multipurpose Cooperative a 14 kilowatt charging station, the first exploratory pilot application of renewable energy in the transport sector. To date, the solar charging station has the capacity to fuel up around 10 trucks a day. With an engine size of 3,000 watts, it takes approximately 4 hours to charge the batteries that can run for 6 hours. Here are some of the financial indicators of the project. For the 14 kilowatt system, capital cost is around $78,000 with the assumptions and at a selling rate of 40 pesos per kilowatt hour. Internal rate of return is calculated at 20%. Greenhouse gas emission reductions of the project is estimated at 10 tons carbon dioxide equivalent per year. This is equivalent to displacing 1,114 gallons of gasoline, 259 incandescent lamp switched to CFL, or growing 254 seedlings for 10 years. The Boracay Solar Charging Station not only serves as a model for clean transport, but for climate resilience as well. So months after the inauguration of the solar charging station, Super Typhoon Haiyan or Yolanda, one of the strongest cyclones ever recorded, made landfall in the Philippines. Haiyan left a wide path of destruction in its wake, leaving the island of Boracay without electricity for a couple of weeks, and disrupting fuel supplies in light of serious damages to the region infrastructures.
Ang populasyon ng i-drive. Ngayon, kampante kami. Kampante kahit may bagyo. Magamit ang charging station sa e-bike at sa solar at sa cellphone para makomunikasyon sa labas.
While solar energy has been closely linked as a mitigation action, this form of energy became the first disaster response mechanism for Boracay. The Boracay Solar Charging Station is a fitting model of the convergence between mitigation and adaptation. A week from now, we will host delegates from 21 member economies of the Asia Pacific Forum, or APEC, as the Philippines leads the APEC workshop on improving energy in off-grid areas. Chosen as one of the two sites of the workshop, our team from BLTMPC will demonstrate how renewable energy plays an important role in promoting clean transportation and in providing a platform for disaster preparedness and response. The solar charging station continues to function, but admittedly, promoting clean energy transportation is not an easy task. We are already tested at least 3 kinds of electric tricycles. And it is just recently that we are coming close to the right technology. Solutions that is appropriate to the Boracay local terrain. We are procuring components due for replacement, and we continue to work with USAID through its Belly Leaders project in order to make the project even more financially viable. We are also planning to install additional capacity to the solar charging station that is mobile and which can be transferred to another location in times of emergencies. Hopefully, when you step out of this room, you will now remember Boracay, not as only a tourist attraction, but as an island that has multiple facets. A potential for clean transport and as well for climate resilience. Thank you po, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Alicio. Let us come to the last, but certainly not least, presentation today, to this session. Mr. Jason Choi, he's the CEO of GS Batteries Limited in Korea. So he has studied and developed several products with rechargeable lithium battery, newly mainly related with green industry and renewable energy in the Asia Pacific region, like in Indonesia and Vietnam. So please, Mr. Choi.
Thank you, everyone. Good morning. First, I appreciate the 2 previous speakers. I want to share the same thinking first before my speech. We see the change already happened from the using oil and gas for the transportations, just for driving cars and motorcycles and e-bikes. And now happen from the car and e-motorcycle side to use motor and batteries. The target to change is gain the economic benefits, and also we reduce gas emissions. That means we are aiming the zero gas emission era. So we see, look into the market in detail with the numbers. This graph is I referred from the PAC research. In 2016, this year, $5 billion US revenue from the lithium battery market will grow up, almost double by 2020 for the transportation sector in worldwide. This means the lithium battery consume will grow 35% every year. Change, please. Yes, sorry, I was faster. Okay, this graph shows up the revenue division depending on the region globally. North America, Western Europe, Eastern Europe, and Asia. Even we see only for the Asia Pacific area, we can see the growth 180% within 5 years, from this year to 2020. So Asian Pacific market is the second biggest market of lithium-ion battery growth. Then we can see inside more, especially for electric motorcycle and e-scooter, will use lithium batteries and acid battery for the global market from this year to 2018. We can see only pick up the one idea. Lithium battery portion, consuming portion is with about 10% of our total battery consumption. Now, we want to go to more specific numbers. This is more comprehensive number to see the market. To estimate the battery quantity for e-scooter, especially in the Asia market. This also is a pickup from the Packet Research. Total e-scooter numbers will be 103 million. People will use e-scooter in 2018. If we already shared number of lithium-ion battery portion is about 10% among the total battery consumption, that means e-scooter installed lithium battery in 2018, almost 10 million people will use in 2018. But this is number is very conservative, I think, because even 2 years ago, there was market booming from the China to changing from the gas type e-scooter to electric motor and battery types. That means every year, 10 million lithium-ion battery will be sold in 2018. And this number also will increase every year, more and more. Especially lithium-ion portion, including total market is in lithium battery and acid battery, but lithium battery portion will grow up faster speed than lead-acid battery we expect. So we see the number in detail. Every year, 10 million battery, even in Asia only, will consume, and that means will be disposed as waste after the using up the life of batteries. So, how handle those kinds of disposed battery? Battery itself has a cycle life. Battery for motorcycle and electric bicycle should endure daily, very hot condition like full charging and deep discharging. It consumes the battery life within a couple of years. That means once battery is customer buy a battery, they have to replace with new ones after the life. So eventually, the 10 million lithium battery, even after 2 years, will be disposed, will be first sold to customers newly, and the same quantity of used battery will be disposed, and the number will also increase, as many as the number of sold. So we have to thinking over how to maximize the battery life, the efficiencies. Just one of a concept with energy saving and efficiencies. So we see the solution back, please. Okay, recycling or reuse the batteries. Still, the lithium-ion battery installed for the electric motorcycle or electric bike, even it finished the end of life, the remaining capacity of the battery can be used for the electric storage system for solar, we think. This concept is already adopted by the big automaker like Nissan, Emerson, or European automakers just have a pilot to use worn out lithium battery from the electric vehicle to support grid systems as an ESS. So we think renewable energy sector, generally in electric storage system, battery is expensive and is one of a very big high hurdle to gain back economic return. But connection between transportation sector and renewable energy sector, we can make significantly good impact or benefit, we think. So this is a simple concept. The recycling, use the lithium battery to longevity, then we can make some economic sense. From the gathering the used lithium battery from electric motorcycle or electric bike, then we can put the battery management system in one by one, and making an integration in parallel together, and building up the ESS system with the lithium batteries. And these kinds of lithium battery ESS can be used with a solar panel to the transforming to the renewable energy side. Then can be used for the residential or communities electric supply systems. So finally, we want to targeting this not only for the saving for energy, we also can gain target of saving energy material also. So we want to make a significant contribution with this new idea, new model of business for the clean energy industry. I think there can be various business models can be from this one. And also there are many issues about technicals. For example, how to inspect the second worn-out lithium battery be safe, and how to manage very different types of different ages batteries within the one system safely, and how to collect efficiencies of different ages batteries as one single ESS. This is one of the challenges of technologies, but while we developing battery management system and controlling powers and handling up country switching the power, we can integrate all of these things with the existing technologies. So this is the right time to plan and start something like pilot implementations to prove this idea, to prepare what will happen next 1 or 2 years. Especially when I travel to the South Asian countries, there are many people using motorcycles with gas and oil. But already starting from China and other countries also starting to change it to motor and battery side. So this business model and new idea will help to maximize the efficiency of saving energies. Okay. Even we see the market shares of lithium battery and lead-acid battery will be used for the motorcycle and the bike side. But I see only focus on lithium battery. I want to say and share something idea. This is very simple, and I think already many people know about this one. We have to say the evolution of rechargeable battery. This evolution has happened. Clearly direction for high energy density and the long cycle life and the eco-friendly chemistry purpose. This is a technology's development and this is, I said, the evolution. PV, acid battery, was commercialized 120 years ago, and its performance is almost fully developed nowadays. And the new chemistry, lithium-ion battery, was introduced just 15 to 16 years ago as a commercial basis. And now, this lithium-ion battery is very popular for high energy density and longer cycle life. From the small personal devices like a smartphone to the electric vehicle, the many appliances adopted lithium-ion battery. Also, this chemistry will have new technologies and improvement in energy density and cycle lives also, like lithium sulfur, lithium air. Of course, there are a bunch of new technologies still studied in innovation and R&D levels. Along with this evolution interaction, more lithium-ion battery share will increase than conventional battery materials like PV by 2020. Okay. For your simple understanding, the direct benchmarking between the lead-acid battery and the lithium-ion battery, this is just a physical comparison. Weight and volume, very small and compact, and lifespan is 3 times longer. The main ROI, return of investment benefit of lithium battery, comes from longer lifespan and faster charge speed. So that's the reason why we are focused on the utilized lithium-ion batteries. Okay, this is the last page. Why I can say this idea with the lithium battery, in order to explain our activities and development technologies, we do business wide spectrum of experience. Manufacturing lithium battery pack and system made with renowned lithium battery cell sources from Korea, and do engineering lithium battery solution for Korean domestic market and overseas. Major the appliances for electric bicycle or electric scooter lithium battery, and small and middle-sized lithium battery energy storage system for renewable energies. Also, we do and produce industrial drone battery. Now we mass production doing, especially this drone works for agriculture in Korea. Spray pesticide on the farmland. And also we are engineering and manufacturing the various robot appliances, including unmanned vehicle. While we are developing new technology and product, we got the idea how to maximize efficiencies of lithium-ion battery to and return this benefit contribution to the Asian developing countries, because they are using electric motorcycle and e-bike as commuters daily basis. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. We managed to finish all this in 1 hour. So we will have 30 minutes for questions, answers, or discussions. I'm inviting, if anyone wants to raise, please mention your name and to whom the questions or feedback to address.
Hi, I'm Shruti from Central Electricity Regulatory Commission India. My question is for Nicholas. Could you talk a little bit about the charging infrastructure needs, especially in developing economies such as India, which is also embarking on an ambitious mission to put electric vehicles on the roads, while the possible mileage is increasing of cars. So how critical it is still to have the public infrastructure, or people can just charge at homes and that's going to be sufficient?
Let me take two more questions. If anyone, okay, please on the back.
Hello. Yes. Okay. I just for the question for this or your panel because you introduced some use of electronic vehicle in some some countries. So I want to know what's the most important feature based on your experience and the people like the electronic vehicle for, because is it because of range or the price? What's the most important feature for based on your experience?
Can I have one more, please?
Good morning, sir. My name is Jessica de Torbersilia. I'm from an international NGO known as Christian Aid. And Asia is not a compact archipelago. I mean, it's not a compact continent unlike the others, or a compact region, because we're really made up of a lot of small islands. In the Philippines, where I come from, we're an archipelago, and I'm just curious whether there are innovations right now on clean energy for inter-island transport. I mean, so far we've heard about the small scale that can be used intra-island, such as that in Boracay, but how about crossing the islands, or crossing islands within Asia Pacific? Are there innovations on clean energy for transport in that area?
Thank you. Let Nicholas, if you can address the first and probably also the third questions on the inter-island shipping.
Yeah, certainly. Much of what is known in terms of charging infrastructure, I can bring experiences from Europe and the US. So I think this is one area where it's very system specific. The transport modes differ greatly between countries. Some are much more urban, as we see some use more two-wheelers and three-wheelers. So the distance is one aspect. The type of EVs is another one. We generally classify in, let's say in Germany or the US, we would classify 3 different types of charging needs. You'd have a point of residence or point of work, so this would be a dedicated system built either in your home for charging overnight or at your workplace, so when you park. There's a second option, which is also needed in more urban areas, is direct on-street parking. So many people don't have garages if they live in more urban environments, and they need some sort of charging infrastructure that exists along the areas of the city where people can park. So this is another type of, this would generally be more supported through public means. And then the third type of charging option that we also consider is higher voltage supercharging in nodal areas between cities. So this would enable people to go distances between 2 cities, which is a different type of charging need, typically higher DC and faster charging to enable people to really get over the issue of range anxiety, which is for some people who commute between cities or who want to use their electric vehicle over longer distances. This is necessary to do. I could imagine one area I think where lots of more insight and research needs to be focused is some of the models for charging, particularly in the developing world, could emerge. And And I think that will be something here, particularly in Asia, but also in India, where the use of really lower capacity batteries for more limited distance. A lot of vehicles don't have necessarily, let's say, 40 or 50 or 60 kilowatt hour battery packs that provide, electric vehicle like a Tesla, 200 plus miles. They may only have 12, for instance. And so they're mainly used in small urban environments, and their average distance may only be 20 kilometers or so a day. And so these have sort of a different type of charging need, and these can be done differently. So I think this is one thing that's very specific to countries and not particularly well understood what the associated costs are. We've done really our analysis and our related costing, sort of infrastructure cost analysis based on what I described previously, sort of this model of 3 disparate unit types, more like in a Western sense, but to better understand that in Asia would be beneficial. And on the issue of what I would call e-boats or inter-island transport, I've not heard really of this application. It does sound interesting. There's a whole we have a pretty expansive disaggregation of various types of transport modes, and we have not really looked at the electrification of shipping, really, or shipping or boats. But I can imagine there are applications for shorter distances and islands, and this would certainly be something I think maybe the ADB could finance.
Thanks, Jason. This question is very much relevant to our operations. I'm in charge of Pacific countries where we have a lot of islands in the region. And if you look at the statistics, I think 50 to 70% of fossil fuels are used for transport, of which 40 to 60% are for shipping. So this is an important question for the shipping operators or shipping companies, how to because there is some conflict. On one hand, we want to promote renewable energy in shipping, but on the other hand, there is also pressure from the industry itself. So right now, they have been, for instance, applying steam slow to reduce the fuel and greenhouse gases. So this is an important topic for discussions. Let me now turn into the second question. So I think if I get the question right, is what are factors for consideration in the future application of electric vehicles? May I start from the left, probably?
Well, I'm not sure if I understood the question correctly. That EV feature. But I think there's nothing special about the EV. I mean, the ones we have in mind is more or less the same as ordinary, vehicles. But like a gasoline and diesel vehicle. The feature is more or less on the constraint side, not the feature you enjoy, you receive by the use of EV. And that the constraint is largely charging. And particularly if you want to promote the EVs for long distance transportation, then you have a big problem. But the advantage of our particular project in Lumbini is it's in the neighborhood, only limited area, and that we are currently thinking about one charging point at the Lumbini UNESCO site. But we may consider one more at the airport. So that's what I think. The feature is a kind of constraint. We have to be very careful about when we promote the EVs. By the way, just for your information, the Safa temple that I showed you on that video, is using lead acid battery, and that's a 12 pack of lead acid, and even with 12 pack, the server tempo cannot run for the whole day. And what they do, they yank out the 12 pack in the middle of the day and swap with a fully charged another 12 pack. And that's how they operate, and we think that's already outdated. It's not necessary because of lithium-ion battery, large capacity. And by the way, one more thing is swappable is actually used for a smaller component of the Lumbini project, which is electric power assisted modern rickshaw. For that, you can just take out the small battery and then put the fresh, fully charged battery. That's another feature, small one under Lumbini.
Alessio, anything you want to add on this one? Is there any factors to consider for the future application of? Any factors to consider? What are factors to consider in the future application of this technology? Do you have any views on this? No. Okay. All right. So. We also have in the Philippines, I think we have a large project, 300 million loan extended to the Philippines on the e-trikes. So I think the issue or the problem with this very large scale of project is not on the theory and the thinking and the technology seems quite simple, but when it comes to application or to execution of this large-scale project is a challenging. At least that's what our experience has been. Okay, let me invite now for the second round of questions or feedback. Yes, please.
My name is Jürgen Lorenz from Pro Environment Consortium. One question to especially Mr. Wagner. From IRENA, what potential and future you see in bridging the gap by using hydrogen and fuel cells to complement or in a hybrid system or a standalone system, especially for long distance transport? What is your statement on that?
Okay, let me invite two more questions so that we can combine. Please, from the back.
Val Roque from the Department of Foreign Affairs. On the point about the challenges surrounding the e-trike program, and also on the point of our friend from Japan, about shifting from lead acid to lithium ion. Don't you think that issue really is also about a change management issue also, because the Philippines, for example, there's familiarity with internal combustion engines, and therefore when tricycle operators start thinking about e-trikes, there's going to be some resistance because they're not familiar with it. Some tricycle operators actually have skills to repair their own internal combustion tricycles. And with something like an e-trike, especially one that's lithium ion based, there's there's something different about it. I would understand that in terms of lead acid powered electric vehicles, we have skills here, because we have an industry where we recycle, the lead acid, whereas for lithium ion, it's really the knowledge is kept somewhere abroad, there's no, so perhaps there's a capacity building challenge also. I just would like the panel to comment on that.
Thank you. One more.
Hi, I'm Millie from the University of the Philippines. This question is for Nicholas. In the area of renewable energy and vehicle electrification, are there specific research, systems research that you think the university can contribute? What are the most pressing, do you think, in the context of developing countries such as the Philippines?
All right, thank you. Nicholas?
Of course, I probably should have had a mention of hydrogen on my slides. It is something that we've looked at. I think we have approximately 200 petajoule in transport. A few countries still have plans to develop fuel cell fleets, so hydrogen has played an important role. Whether or not that hydrogen is green hydrogen sourced from electrolysis or it's derived from natural gas is another question. But there are some regions that still have active programs for fuel cell vehicles, and I think that recent market dynamics haven't really shown that this is necessarily gathering pace, but I think that there are some believers in the technology. The issue of hydrogen is also relevant for the power sector and for power to gas, which is a big topic of whether or not that's necessary. That goes into a larger discussion about integration of variable renewables and what could be needed. You could do a power to gas option. There could also be storage, just transmission, grid, demand side response. It's all very complex, very active. And I can point you towards the implementing agreement, the hydrogen, the IA hydrogen implementing agreement. We met with them recently, and they have some ongoing, very interesting tasks related to this. And I think it will become clear, I think, in the next 5 years or so what the role that hydrogen may have in transport and how it might also impact the power sector and integration. But it probably also, as we look at some of these modes that require higher energy density, this, of course, is a solution. And some people in the very long term, we have a 2030 timeframe. I think if we talk post-2030, I think this is a much more interesting technology. But there's also some discussion about cryogenic hydrogen and its use in airplanes and these things. But that's most certainly for the future. The question related to system-related aspects for EVs and what can universities do. So in general, it's, as I think we see the energy sector becoming increasingly coupled. So we have, in almost all countries, we have the share of energy that's supplied through electricity increasing, so the electrification of our energy system is taking place. Currently, is around 20% of total final energy comes from electricity. This will increase to at least 25% and probably further, and in many countries which have lower shares, that increase will happen quicker. And depending on the source of that electricity, if it's going to be more renewables, which I think markets will actually increasingly choose, and it's going to be solar or wind-based, you're going to have to look into system-related aspects. To do this requires several types of modeling. It requires detailed power system nodal modeling for basically grid stability, frequency level activities. So this is something that typically utilities hire out consultants, but they could also work with universities. But I think a really interesting niche is sort of this medium to long-term planning, and this is where universities can bring a lot of value by working with various models and methodologies, some of which we have developed, or many organizations have developed, to better sort of understand the future interconnectedness of the energy system in a country. And this is, I think, a good activity for universities to do. And then there's usually an EV module. So there's usually an EV assumption or input, exogenous input that one takes, and then assumes a certain availability of EVs at a given time for storage needs, bidirectional supply if necessary. So it's an academic discipline that can shed light if you look more medium to long term. It can
shed light into more of some important issues around target setting for certain technologies and for infrastructure build out and so on and so forth.
Thank you, Nicholas. Maybe Jason, if you could respond to lead acid versus lithium ion. The question is, in your presentation, you are showing, the benefit of lithium ion against lead acid. So there are some challenges in converting from lead acid to lithium ion. So if you can elaborate a little bit more about this issue.
Okay. Now we are exporting electric bicycle lithium battery to Vietnam market. When you sell the lithium battery to people, they are very sensitive in pricing only, not technologies, pricing only. Even lithium battery can be charged much faster than lead-acid battery. They don't care about that because they use almost the same chargers. That means charging time almost the same. They do not feel any differences of it. They are only sensitive and responsive in pricing only. So if depending on the personal individual behavior, they pick up the right options of batteries. That is the driving ranges. One charge, how long the electric bicycle or electric scooter can run one charge. So they pick up. So if one person who wants to buy a battery, they have to pick up the battery depending on his choice with different distance how to run. For the commuters, they need more than 50 kilometers for one charge, or they will use, if he uses for electric bicycle scooter for commercial delivery job a day, they need more than 40 kilometers. The battery is one of similar with as a coin, one backside and rear side, backside and front side. That means battery is very useful, but battery needs charging. We have spent waste time for the charging time. So they do not want to spend time to charging. So once charged battery, they want to continue to use the motorcycle and e-bikes. So I think not only for the technical issues, depending on the price, if we can manage and plan right market pricing and how to use, then customer can be changing to lead-acid battery to lithium battery.
Thank you, Jason. Just to share with you, the project we have in the Philippines, we tested two batteries, lead acid 140 kilograms and lithium ion batteries 38 kilograms. So it's 70% much lighter than lead acid. So the pilot shows that the lithium ion battery gives a higher saving that allow the drivers to recover the investment. So this is the conclusion we had, and therefore for our e-tracks in the Philippines, lithium ion was proposed. Okay, let me have one more. I saw in the back.
Thank you. I'm Kiani from Pakistan. My question is that the electric transport have two competitors. One is the fossil fuel, which is going very cheap. Nowadays it is trading at about $50. And the other is the countries are more focusing on the generation side, not on the transport side. So how you face this challenge? Because of the cost. The cost is very high of the lithium battery. how you see the future to this challenge.
Thank you. Okay, now this is an interesting question about the cost. I think none of the panelists mentioned about the cost of generating this. Maybe if anyone would like to respond to the cost.
Sorry, I'm not on the panel, but our company has had over almost 10 years experience delivering hybrid systems to the marine transportation field, and we've dealt with lead acid, lithium-ion batteries, and the cost side of it is the big limiting factor. I mean, we have up to about a 5-year payback on our systems based on current fuel prices, and it's still very hard to get owners to adopt new technology. It's a big challenge. So, I don't have any solution to that, but it's more or less a comment. But if there's any comments from the panel on how to leverage, because there's no technical barriers to doing this, and the transportation infrastructure is set up so much around fossil fuels that's the big challenge.
Thank you. That issue actually doesn't apply to the countries where I'm in charge of, because the renewable energy is much cheaper than diesel fuel because of the high transportation costs in Pacific countries. But it actually very much relevant to the rest of the Pacific. Anyone from the panel would like to respond?
I mean, I would say that there's this understanding in literature about the role of battery cost. In electric vehicles, battery costs have declined from $1,000 per kilowatt hour 5-6 years ago to $400, and now actually the most competitive prices are coming at about $250. Tesla's Gigafactory is supposed to be able to do 115, 120 US dollars per kilowatt hour, which many see as sort of the break-even point at which you can produce a mid-sized sedan at roughly the same cost as a internal combustion engine variant. So that's of course only the four-wheel sort of sedan, comparable type of vehicle. I think that there are instances now, I've heard of an example in an island in Greece, where because of just limited distance, there's much less battery need, so they don't need as much storage and distance. And in these cases, they can have significantly less battery, which makes that vehicle a lot more affordable and is already emerged. It's already starting to be competitive with similar small sedans that would be sold in the Greek islands. So then you have a question which we see in our modeling that looks at the relationship between the price of petrol or diesel and the local electricity price, and then this becomes actually quite a if you have let's say a vehicle that costs the same, either internal combustion engine or EV, and then you have very high taxes on automobile fuels and a relatively low electricity price, then you see that actually the EV, in terms of cost of ownership, is better. And then if it's the other way around, then you can see, so this switch, the interplay between how much electricity price costs and how much fossil fuel price costs, either through supply chain or through tax or through subsidy, this can have an important effect on the total cost of ownership of those vehicles. So it's also something for governments to understand. Also, an interesting point is generally the taxes that are assessed on motor fuels go to paying for road infrastructure. This is generally the case. And I think until now there really hasn't been a need, but as we see EVs take up a larger and larger share of the vehicle fleet and use roads, there may also need to be a discussion about how to recoup some of those costs associated with that usage through a pricing mechanism on electricity consumed for EVs. So this would be something that could also have an effect.
Thank you very much. It's 12:30 right now. I believe it's lunchtime for everyone. If no more questions, I would like to close this session, and I would like to thank all the panelists and all of you, of course, and let's big applause to our session. Thank you very much.